My best friend attacked me over his crush on my girlfriend. So, here's the story about me, my best buddy Jake, and my girlfriend Emma. Jake and I have been super tight since we were just little kids, like around 6 years old. We both dreamed of having the same kind of job when we grew up, which was pretty cool because we always had each other's backs. But man, getting there was tough. We faced a ton of rejections and it felt like a real uphill battle. In the last year, though, things have started looking up for me. My career is finally taking off. I've been landing gigs and projects left and right, and it feels amazing to see my hard work paying off. But for Jake, it's been a different story. He's still struggling to catch his big break, and I can tell it's really getting him down. Despite my busy schedule, I've been doing everything I can to help Jake out. I've been his cheerleader, trying to pump him up, sharing tips, and even passing on opportunities to him. We were roommates for a while too, from when we were 22 to 23 years old. Those were good times. We shared pretty much everything from pizza to playlists. But then, about 6 months ago, I started noticing a change in Jake. He began making these jokes at my expense, the kind that had a sting to them. He'd say things that were pretty belittling, and it felt like he was putting me down to make himself feel better. I've always been the kind of guy who tries to keep things light and breezy. So at first, I just shrugged it off. I figured he was just feeling a bit jealous or something because my career was doing well and his wasn't. I totally get how tough it is to see someone else succeeding in a field you're both passionate about. Now, talking about Emma, she's been my rock. We've been together for over 5 years, and she's been by my side through all the ups and downs of trying to make it in our competitive field. Emma and I have this great connection where we can talk about absolutely everything. Whether it's something big like career moves or just everyday stuff, we share it all. I really value that openness and honesty in our relationship. To keep things exciting between us, I make sure to plan fun activities. We go out on dates once or twice a week, where I might surprise her with something special like a cooking class, a dance lesson, or even a quick getaway trip. I love creating these new experiences for us to enjoy together, diving into her hobbies and making sure she knows she's my number one. Even with my career taking off, I've been careful to keep our relationship a priority because I know how important it is to balance work with personal life. I guess what I'm trying to say is that life has been pretty good, except for the tension with Jake. I thought I was managing everything well, my job, my relationship with Emma, and my friendship with Jake. But as you'll see, things got pretty complicated, really fast. Last week we were all at our friend's house, Tom 27M and Katie 27F house they recently bought. We were sitting in their yard drinking along with Bill 26M and Jane 27F. We have been a friend group for 7 years, so we are all drinking, and Jake gets drunk pretty quick, and all night he is taking these jabs at me and saying things, and after 6 months of this, I just get enough. The others also told him to take it down a notch as he tried to disguise these comments as jokes, but he was just being hurtful and rude. But around midnight, a little drunk, I just get enough and call them out, which ends in an argument. And I end up saying thinking this all stems from his jealousy of my recent success, that it's not my fault he doesn't have the talent to make it, and mention all I've tried doing for him so he could get opportunities as well. Then he just attacks me. We shove each other a bit, but he manages to knock me down, kicks me in the ribs a couple of times, then he tries to stomp on my head. Luckily, he doesn't hit me full force. I feel the sole of his feet hit my cheek and slip off, but it was hard enough that my face is still swollen. Then he does it again, but I move and just see as he'll land full force inches from my face. He would have broken my skull or worse, killed me had he landed on my head. Then the other guys get in between. I stand up and yell if he is crazy. He seems to be walking off, but he picks up a wooden plank. Tom and Katie are redoing the fence and building a shed in the garden. Then he lunges at me again and swings it towards my head. I kind of duck and put my hand up so he hits my elbow pretty hard. Again, he could have killed me 2 times in a matter of seconds. He almost hit Jane with a swing also. So all hell breaks loose, and Tom and Bill jump him and beat him up pretty bad, as they were just seeing red from what happened. The girls managed to get them off Jake, and they kind of realized what they did. It's just emotional chaos at this point, and we were all kind of in shock. Jake sits up and Emma sits with him, and there's a lot of blood on his face, but he doesn't lose consciousness. Katie ends up driving Jake to the hospital and gets back in the morning. Jake had a broken nose and a slight concussion, and she dropped him off at his parents'. She said Jake didn't really talk to her, explain himself, or even apologize. None of us really slept that night, and honestly, after that, things are a bit blurry to me. Probably a mix of alcohol, shock, and adrenaline, and the worst night of my life. But it just got worse. You might have noticed. I haven't mentioned Emma for a while. We are sitting around and Tom says something like, Jake deserved worse than a broken nose for trying to kill me twice and almost hurting Jane. Then Emma, who has been quiet, suddenly snaps and defends Jake, saying he doesn't deserve any of this, and that he just has been having a hard time. Tom and Emma almost end up in a screaming match before Emma storms off. I follow her thinking, okay, we are all in shock and sleep deprived and plan to comfort her. I find her in the guest room crying. I tell her I understand and we are in shock, and maybe we should just try to get some sleep. She doesn't even look at me. And suddenly I realize Jake and Emma were sitting next to each other the previous evening. Not the first time when Jake was screaming at me. Emma was by his side, tugging at his arm, pleading him to take a walk with her and calm down to Jake, not me. After Jake kicked me, stomped on me, swung a plank at me, her attention was still on, calming him down while I lay down in pain. She didn't check on me. When the guys were beating Jake, she was screaming in hysterics, trying to pull them off him. I don't even remember her asking me once if I was okay all night. So I asked her, "Are you cheating on me with Jake?" And she just started crying hysterically and repeating, she never intended for it to go this far. And I got my answer and I just lost it and started yelling at her what is going on and how she can do this. The others come in and the guys take me to another room and try to calm me down. Jane and Katie end up driving Emma to her parents, and Jane ends up staying with her, as apparently they were worried about her through the car ride. She cried so much she couldn't speak when they got to her parents. Jane and Emma's dad had to help her up the stairs and into bed as she barely stood up, as she was just in hysterics. And the only thing she managed to say or scream, according to them, was that she had ruined everything. So Jane stayed as her parents were worried sick and never saw her like this. Jane and Katie told them what had happened with Jake and me, and it seemed to stem from Jake and Emma's affair. I'm not going to go into too much detail as this is long enough, but basically a year ago, Jake confessed his love for Emma and has been very persistent since then. She said she made it clear it wasn't mutual. I asked why she didn't come to me. She says she didn't want to ruin our friendship and wanted to fix things. Then lastly, he has become more aggressive, asking her to leave me for him. I asked if anything had happened. She said they kissed twice, and Jake initiated both times. But she stopped it, and they once cuddled over a movie in which Jake tried to initiate sex. And then she left and set clear boundaries. I asked why she kept seeing him alone if he was constantly trying to kiss her and get her into bed. She said he always promised he wouldn't do it again. I asked why she didn't cut contact, why she kept answering his DMS, kept meeting him, giving him false hope and leading him on if she liked his attention. Then she said the strangest thing that she felt bad for him, felt sorry for him, felt protective of him, like she was his big sister WTF, and she needed to help him get over her, that she even set him up on a date with a friend, which he sabotaged by being added to the girl. I asked her if she was stupid, if she was telling the truth. She did nothing but keep his hope and crush for her alive by giving him all her time. She started crying and doubled down on having a sister-brother relationship with him and wanting to fix everything and that he was just having a hard time and she wanted to help him to get on his feet again. But he kept getting more persistent and started talking about me in a bad way and that I didn't deserve her. She says she regrets everything and said she was just stupid and had ruined everything and dealt with everything in the worst way possible. But she did it in good faith, not realizing she was just making things worse. Then I ask her if she has had any contact with him since that night, and she takes this awkward pause before starting bawling her eyes out and saying, "Yes, that just destroyed me, completely ruined me. This man for over a year tried to get with her, tried to off me, and I waited 5 days for her to answer me, only for her mother to call me on her behalf. And meanwhile, she was texting with him. I couldn't answer. I just felt like hurting her. Not physically, but emotionally. So I decided to just get up and go. She pleads with me, offers to show me the text, saying she just checked if he was okay. And then the discussion went to her, telling him it's over and to stop contacting her. But for me, she made her choice. I was in the worst pain in my life these last 5 days because of them, and she still chose to continue to talk to him while I was on my own. I walk out with her, following me, pleading, and I'm not proud of this, but her mom and dad get out of the car and ask if everything is all right, and I just lose it. I yell that their C-word of a daughter has ruined my life, how she could choose the man who tried to stomp on my face over me. I was so angry I couldn't even drive, so I just started walking away. I don't know how long I was walking, but my ex, Phil, drove next to me, told me to get in, which I did, expecting him to yell at me or tell me off. But bless his heart, he just drove me home. We didn't talk all the way, but when he stopped outside of my place, he put his hand on my shoulder. I couldn't even look him in the face after what I said to them. Emma did text me a screenshot of their texts, which seems to prove what she said, that she only checked if he was okay, and then said she couldn't keep them in her life, that she would never forgive him for attacking me. She also sent more screenshots of their previous chats, mostly of her telling him to stop, that she didn't have feelings for him, and of her rejecting his advances. But as they have been talking for over a year, I guess she could cherry pick parts of the conversations that look in her favor and leave other parts of text out. I have not responded yet, and I don't think I ever will, and I will block her. But for some reason, I just can't. Yet. Now I'm here just getting this all out of me. I just feel so betrayed and angry and horrible. I want to hurt Emma and Jake so bad, not in a violent way, just emotionally make them feel the pain I'm feeling. And I know that's not a healthy way to feel or a healthy thing to do. So I hope just writing this out, even if no one reads this, will help me start to process what the hell has happened, how my life went from feeling perfect to feeling like I will never feel good again. I feel like this pain will never go away. How on earth can someone heal from this? I feel like I lost everything. The people I used to love with all my heart. I feel nothing but hatred for now. I know, Emma said she didn't cheat as and had sex, which I doubt because I'm not stupid. Even if they didn't have sex, she still betrayed me on so many levels, as did Jake. I don't think I will ever forgive them. I don't feel like I will ever get in a place where I would even consider trying to update Jake. Everybody told me to press charges. I don't know. Maybe many of you are Americans with too much belief in a justice system or have watched too many TV shows about lawyers. It doesn't work that way, at least not in my country. I talked to 2 lawyers and the outcome was I could press charges, but I'm going to jail is highly unlikely. The most likely outcome is that he has to pay for the trial and pay me a settlement. Might be a large fee. Could be a small fee because I wasn't seriously hurt and no long-lasting damages. My friends could testify to the severity of his assault, but the judge will most likely rule by the damage that was actually done. He might get probation, but not jail. So, yeah, I could maybe ruin him financially, but then he could press charges too, Tom and Bill. And there is a bigger possibility they would end up worse from that case than Jake from mine, as they did break his nose and give him a concussion. And with a decent lawyer, he could make it out as having lasting physical effects from it. So this could become months up to years of dealing with this. And I just want this over with. His reputation has suffered. He lost some friends. Some said they would stay neutral. His older brother told me that he and his parents have expressed their disappointment in him, but aren't disowning them. But his younger sister took it really hard. She used to joke that she considered me as her older brother at Jake's expense. Light-hearted jokes, not cruel. She also looked up to Emma, so she took it hard and refused to talk to Jake. He did send me a long apology letter, but not once mentioned Emma, just his behavior towards me in the assault. It was sincere, but not heartfelt. He owned up to a lot of things, but blamed others on his mental health. I have not responded in, well, not Jane and Katie. Some of you, after I commented that they told me that Jake might have been abusive to Emma, that they might know more than they let up or were sticking by her. So I kind of played dumb talking about how I couldn't believe I didn't see the signs. If they saw the signs. And yes, they knew about Jake kissing Emma, but claimed they didn't know the extent of it, just that Jake and Emma were spending time together. And Emma told them he kissed her, but she dealt with the problem. I didn't really believe that that was the only thing they knew, as Jane got very defensive when I confronted her more about this. That had a domino effect as Tom got mad at her for keeping it a secret. And what else? She isn't telling him in his mind. If she can keep a secret like that, what else can she keep secret about? So that has caused some strain to their relationship. I'm staying out of it, but told Tom not to get angry at her on my behalf. Kate did come to my home and asked to talk. She said she genuinely didn't know. She just kind of walked in on the kissing conversation, and Jane and Emma downplayed it later when asking Jane. She told Emma had dealt with it. She swears she took it as if she had told me, and she had no idea other than that what was going on, and I do believe her. She seemed very genuine and apologetic, unlike Jane. I don't hate Jane or resent her, but I'm disappointed and frustrated. So I've kind of been LC/C with her these last weeks, as I just feel no interest being around her, which has slightly affected my friendship with Tom, as I've been hanging out with other people instead. Emma. So where to begin? Many of you said go, no contact, but I know myself. It would have driven me insane not being able to get everything off my chest and find some sort of conclusion to what the hell happened. And one person messaged me saying that he was raised to face his problems in person, and that resonated better with me than going NC, though I plan to do that after meeting her again. I also had to apologize to her parents and get my car as it was still at their place. So 4 days after that incident, I called them, asked if I could come by, talk to them, and if they would let me speak with Emma again. They actually were relieved. Part of me thinks they thought I was planning to forgive her or something. So I went there. We talked. I apologized. They said they were disappointed and shocked at me, yelling those hurtful things, but understood that I was going through a lot of emotions and in a bad place. Then we hugged. Then they went outside again, and I went into the living room where Emma waited for me. She walked towards me with the saddest face I have seen and asked for a hug, but I said no and asked her to sit down to talk. I asked her to tell me everything again and asked if he was in any way abusive, as Jane and Katie implied. And she gave me the same version as last time, but with some additions. She said she didn't fully realize at the time. She just felt as if this situation was a responsibility to fix. But the reason she couldn't do it or come clean was Jake. He threatened her with telling me himself that they kissed, that they were in love, that she was cheating on me. When she tried to cut communication with him, he said these things that she would ruin our relationship and the friendship between me and Jake, that I would believe him and not her. She said she didn't fully realize at the time. She just felt as if this situation was her responsibility to fix. But the reason she couldn't do it or come clean was Jake. He threatened her with telling me himself that they kissed, that they were in love, that she was cheating on me when she tried to cut communication with him. He said these things that she would ruin our relationship and the friendship between me and Jake, that I would believe him and not her. So she felt trapped dealing with this on her own. I asked if he was physically abusive. She kind of hesitated and said not really, but on 2 occasions he did hurt her. Not badly, but to the point of pain. One time at an event we were all in together. He got her alone, asked her if she really didn't love him. She said no, and to not do this there and tried to walk away. But he grabbed her wrists and wouldn't let go and dragged her closer to him and hurt her wrists. I remember that night, and I remember about halfway through Emma went quiet and distracted, but told me she was just tired. The second time was similar, but they were alone. And he grabbed her bicep and squeezed and she got bruises, but I don't remember any bruises on her. I would have noticed and asked about them. Maybe she hid them. I also asked if it really wasn't sexual, that his intentions were obvious and why she kept putting her in that position. She just said she didn't know she was being stupid, but they never had sex. I also asked why he had so much power over her that she for a year couldn't find the strength to just tell me why she believed I would trust his words, not her again. She said she didn't know that. She just kept making mistakes. I asked why she ignored me after Jake attacked me, but not him. She just started crying and kept saying she didn't know why. She just thought our relationship was stronger than that and we would bounce back. And she was worried what Jake would do. I said that was the reason that hurt me the most. She was too busy worrying about him and not about me. That to me, she chose him. She said she didn't choose him, but I stood firm on that. Then I explained how much she and they hurt me. All the trust was gone and we were done. And I would have no contact with him. She asked if there was a point in the future where we could be in each other's lives, and I said no. But it was eating me away as there are so many things I doubt in her story. So I reached out to Zoe, 27, Emma's best friend, and said that I was just destroyed and felt like nobody around me was telling the truth, and begged her to just be honest. To my surprise, she answered. It appears she knew a lot. But Emma kept her out of the loop with many things she knew about. Jake said she told Emma to stop talking to him and tell me about his behavior. She knew about them kissing, and that Emma regretted it, and was the one who stopped it from going further. She told me that to begin with, Emma felt validated. She used to like the dynamic in our relationship where I needed her support when my career was struggling and full of rejections. Not like I was constantly crying on her shoulder or relying on her money. But on many occasions, she was my support system, the one who took it upon herself to cheer me up, hug me, cuddle, motivate me, make me believe in myself, and keep going. And when my career took off, she felt that dynamic missing. But then Jake was in the position I was in and she could give her support to him and feel that validation again. I was just baffled. Zoe said she was too, when she told her. I asked if she felt validated by the sexual attraction for Jake. Zoe said Emma never really talked about that. But as a girl herself and knowing Emma for 20 years, she told me she suspected that that was a part of it too. Then I asked, as I've been fearing I might have been delusional about being a good boyfriend if she ever talked bad about me, maybe I did something to drive her into Jake's arms. Zoe said, not really, that Emma always sounded very much in love and talked often about how happy she was, how I made her feel special to the point Zoe was almost jealous. On a few occasions, Emma did call me overbearing, clingy, and I would sometimes shut down and be selfish, but never anything worse than that. Since then, I kind of think Zoe has been flirting with me. She texts me every day. At first, just things like how my day was or how I was feeling. Then means that are kind of sexual, but I have no interest in anything with her, so I guess I will have to shut that down. I don't want her thinking I'm leading her on, so I'm just trying to come to terms with all of this, trying to move on. And then, about 8 to 9 days back, I get a text from Emma. I blocked her on all apps and social media. We always communicated with those, but rarely with our phone number. So it genuinely slipped my mind. It just said, "How have you been followed up with her?" Saying she smiled and laughed again for the first time because of me, and a photo of me on her TV and how proud she is of me. And she looks forward to seeing my career progress. I work in the entertainment industry. My big break early last year was a job behind the scenes, which progressed to me getting in front of the camera. I'm by no means famous, and it's just a little show. Although growing an audience and popularity since we began, not on the main channel or anything. I made the mistake of responding, and we chatted for 2 days. Not about us, but about some political issues in the country. I kept my distance still. If she texted, I just waited until I was in the mood to answer or finished what I was doing first. Then she asked if I could find it in my heart to let her in my life again, if only in a small way in the future. I said I needed more time, but unlikely. Told her I couldn't keep doing this for my mental health. Said goodbye and blocked her again. I thought this was over. But then last Friday night around midnight, I got a knock on my door, and lo and behold, there stood Emma, soaking wet in the rain like some freaking scene in a movie. I asked what the hell she was doing here. She said she was out drinking and wanted to see me, but got cold feet. As soon as she left the taxi and stood by the road for 10 minutes but was too cold to wait for another taxi now. So I let her in, gave her some old sweatpants, t-shirt, and hoodie of mine, and gave her a bag to put her wet clothes in. So the story is her girlfriends peer pressure her to go on a girls' night out, but she didn't feel ready but went anyways. They are drinking, and she gets her favorite cocktail. When we were together but went out on our own, we used to have this thing where we would message each other all night with funny things that happened inside, jokes about situations, or just send pics of our drinks. The fancier the better. We were that annoying couple who were always on our phone talking when separated, and she instinctively reached for her phone to send me a pic, but then realized she could never do that again, and felt a wave of sadness. She drank some more, and then, after telling her friends she didn't want to meet or talk to men, they invited some guys over, told one of them Emma was single and he was flirting and trying to get her attention, and her friends kept creating situations, leaving them alone together, and she had enough. She also told me that the guy was boring, uninteresting, and pathetic and ugly. Emma rarely talks like this about people. Which brings me to this point. I know, sober, Emma, tipsy drunk, Emma drunk Emma, and drunk drunk Emma. She seemed to be in the tipsy drunk state, but usually she is very giggly and bubbly. Then, now she was completely cold and distant, never looking me in the eye. Unlike the last time I met her, where she looked at me with such sorrow and regret. She even almost talked in a monotone. Never have I seen this, Emma. Like she was a different person. I was tired and just so weirded out. My mind went kind of blank, and she just sat there not saying a word. I went on the taxi app and ordered her another taxi. But after 15 minutes, the app said it was still searching for a taxi. So I thought, screw this, and offered to drive her home as I didn't think her staying over was a good idea and suspected that that was her agenda. And I was calling out her bluff, but she just got her things and went to my car without any protest or saying anything in general in the car. The mood was still so weird. She asked to choose the music. I said yes. She asked to hold my hand while we drove for one last time. Stupidly said yes. Then she just sat there and looked out the window. Never looked at me. This attitude kind of disarmed me. My mind was blank, but in a lame attempt to lighten the mood, I joked about driving her back to her friends and maybe Mr. Pathetic was still there. She just shrugged, said she was done with men forever. All they did was abuse her trust, manipulate her emotions and goodwill, and put her in lose-lose situations. I don't know if that was a stab at me, Mark, or both. I asked her why she said that, and she shrugged again and said, seriously. She also told me Jake sent her a letter asking her to move with him to another country, but she threw it out. Then we just drove in silence. When we approached her parents' home, I felt her squeeze my hand like she didn't want to let go. When I stopped the car, she said nothing, just went out, not even looking at me, and went inside. When I got back home, of course, I found her underwear in my bathroom, but in a place beside the laundry basket where clothes would often fall into my common sense. As of course, she left them on purpose. She knows that clothes sometimes fall, but they do fall there. So, of course, another thing for me to overthink and doubt about, and now I got her underwear and she's got my clothes. So, a reason to see each other again. Anyway, I was just so confused and a little scared for Emma in this state. I even been thinking if she was on drugs that night, she was that unlike herself. I'm even debating if I should ask Zoe about it, but I shouldn't put her in that position and pull a Jake on her. I'm also that naive that I unblocked Emma on everything because I genuinely thought she would reach out with an apology for showing up drunk at my place. The old Emma would have. I also noticed she changed her Instagram a lot, removed her bio, deleted almost every picture. She had this cute and quirky feed. She has two old pics of her deleted all pics with other people in, and pics of me, except one of us together from a holiday from 2 years ago that we both have declared as the most fun time in our lives. I felt like I was making a tiny progress, but now I can't stop thinking about her again. But the truth is that I really miss Emma so much. She really is a one-of-a-kind person. I've always realized how lucky I've been to have her in my life. And as much as I've hated her and resented this past month, seeing her on Friday and remembering how she cried at her parents, I hate seeing her like this. It made me feel good or content, thinking about her, hurting from her decisions and destroying her life. With Jake, I felt like she deserved it for making me hurt so much. Now I feel some resentment, but I just worry, and I'm afraid for her more now. I admit when she squeezed my hand in the car, I got a tingle like butterflies in my stomach thinking about it and our time together. Then I felt worried. I don't want her to self-destruct or feel bad or guilty for the rest of her life. We are only human. We make mistakes. I'm inclined to believe that Jake was abusive, which makes me actually want to press charges to punish him for what he did to Emma. And she felt stuck in dealing with this herself because of his threats and fear of losing everything. But then again, she did console him and not me when things came to a head. I keep going in circles, and I feel her visit on Friday was a little manipulative. Her showing up soaking wet, leaving her underwear acting so weird. But then for a few minutes I feel like not caring about that, only having her in my life as a partner again. So I'm thinking in circles, going no contact and trying to be strong. Reach out to her, have an honest all on the table talk, maybe try to work on things and see if we can move forward, or just be the bigger man and meet her in things in a way that in some way relieves her of her guilt, so she won't beat herself down about this or regret her whole life, even if it means me lying or downplaying something. So at least I cannot worry about her. As you can see, fellow Redditors, I'm so very confused and clueless right now, and hoping, like last time, someone will come along with advice that will help me see the right way forward.